Since flying was implemented in the Burning Crusade, it has become a key feature in the World of Warcraft. At first, it was only possible to fly in Outland, while players were still restricted to their ground mounts on Azeroth. In Wrath of the Lich King, flying was also made possible on the new continent of Northrend. In Cataclysm, the old world was overhauled, and flying was finally made possible here as well. However, even after the overhaul, two zones still insisted on keeping the players grounded. In this video, we will talk about why you can't fly in Quel'Thalas or the Azuremyst Isles. Enjoy! One of the reasons you can't fly in these areas is the actual location where they are placed. On the maps, it appears like Azuremyst Isles are located just off the shores of Darkshore, while Quel'Thalas lies to the north of Eastern Plaguelands. In reality, this couldn't be more wrong. You have to go through an instance portal to get from the Plaguelands to Ghostlands and the other way around. Invisible walls stop you from going over the mountains directly, and that's because you won't find Ghostlands on the other side. You'll just find an unfinished part of it with a few scourge banners and a slaughterhouse lodged in the ground. That's all there is to it, and it won't be any different if you approach this from the other side of the portal. Here you will notice that the terrain cuts off almost instantly, leaving only a small piece of the Eastern Plaguelands. You can see the Quel'Thalas Lodge and a few other things, but it is quite clear that the Eastern Plaguelands and the rest of Azeroth is not to be found on the other side. This is the actual map of the Eastern Kingdoms as it looks in-game without any smoke and mirrors. Aside from the fraction of Ghostlands, the only thing we will find here is the tiny Quel'Thalas area, which has been here since the launch of the game. And the Azuremyst Isles are no different. To put it in perspective, you can easily hop on a flying mount and fly from Darkshore to Teldrassil. It's right there off the coast and there's nothing stopping you to get there. But if you were trying to do the same thing to get to Azuremyst Isles, you would not even be able to find it, even though the map says it should be roughly the same distance. Instead, you simply have to go to Ruthorun village and take the boat from there. There is no way around that. And this boat has the same purpose as the instance portal to Quel'Thalas. It is going to take you through a loading screen which moves you from the Kalimdor map. Because if we once again open up the map as it looks without any smoke and mirrors, you will see that Azuremyst Isles are nowhere to be found in Kalimdor. And if they're not part of Kalimdor or Eastern Kingdoms, that brings us to the question, where are they? Both of these areas were introduced in Burning Crusade, the first expansion of World of Warcraft, which also brought the continent of Outland. If you look at this screenshot, taken in Outland with heavily improved draw distance, you can see two islands far out in the void. When looking at the actual map file of Outland, which by the way is called Expansion 01, we can see what these two islands actually are. To the north you have the lands of Quel'Thalas, and to the south you have the Azuremyst Isles, both just floating around in the twisting nether off the edges of Outland. This means that if it weren't for invisible walls or fatigue, it would be fully possible to travel between these places without going through a portal or leaving the actual map file. Remember, it wasn't possible to fly from Darkshore to Azuremyst Isles, but as you can see in this footage, I am now leaving Hellfire Peninsula as I am heading straight out in the nether. Since I am heading to the northeast, I will eventually end up in Quel'Thalas. But we are not going to stay here for long, instead we are going to turn around and head straight down to the south. We are once more entering the nether, but as you can see, we won't have to travel far until we can spot land ahead. We are now arriving at the Azuremyst Isles, and this all should give you an impression just how these places are located in relation to each other. And all of this have most likely played a part in Blizzard's decision to keep the restriction of no flying. However, this could never have been the only reason, because since you are allowed to fly on one side of the instance portal, it's quite easy to argue that the restriction makes no sense on the other side. So of course there are more reasons why flying is not allowed. Another thing is all the invisible walls in Quel'Thalas. If Blizzard were to enable flying in these areas today, trying to actually fly in Eversong would be a nightmare. When Blizzard finally decided to add flying in Draenor, the actual release of that feature was delayed because the zones in Draenor had the same problem. It simply took a lot of time and resources to go back and fix this, and that simply isn't resources that Blizzard will sink into an old zone like this. Then again, if that was the only thing they had to do, they would most likely have done it already. But there is one more issue with Quel'Thalas, which is probably the main reason why flying is not allowed here or on the Azuremyst Isles, and that is Silvermoon city itself. The city was not built with flying in mind, so while it looks great from the ground, as soon as you fly up and look at it from above, you will see just how broken it is. It is constructed like a cardboard cutout. A lot of the houses are missing rooftops, towers are floating in mid-air, there's a lot of holes down into the void, and environments clip in and out depending on from what angle you're looking at them. And it's actually very easy to check this out on live servers. All you have to do is get yourself to the Duskwither Spire as shown on the map here, and you need to be either a class with slow fall or have a few slow falling items with you. Then simply do as I do here in the video and you will be on the rooftops of Silvermoon in no time. Now, this is not a design choice which is unique to Silvermoon. Before the Cataclysm overhaul, a lot of cities looked like this. Take a look at the old Stormwind, Orgrimmar and Lordaeron and you will see that they were all made the same way. However, they were all fixed with the Cataclysm revamp while Silvermoon was left untouched. And as of today, Blizzard shows no intention in ever going back and fixing that. And players have asked Blizzard to overhaul Silvermoon, always with the same reply.
On that note, are you gonna pull Silvermoon out of 2007 anytime soon?
No.
Rocking 2007 like it's 1996 or something. Judgmental.
And this discussion often ends up focusing on the fact that Silvermoon is abandoned. And this is quite a tricky argument, because if you can't update Silvermoon based on the fact that no one goes there, you can just as well look at it from the other side and say no one goes there because of the fact that it's not updated. And while we are on this topic, it should be acknowledged that Silvermoon isn't abandoned on every realm. If you go to a role-playing server, you will most likely see that the entire city is full of life. So anyway, most of these design flaws can be found in Eversong, but not on the Azuremyst Isles. Azuremyst looks great from above, there is no invisible walls, and it would potentially be ready for Blizzard to just flip the switch and enable flying. However, this is of course not going to happen unless they can do the same thing with Eversong as well. And as it seems today, it sounds very unlikely that Blizzard would go back and revamp Silvermoon to make it possible. And there you go, if you have ever wondered why you can't mount up and fly in Silvermoon or Exodar, this is the reason. I hope you enjoyed the vid. If you did, do give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will be back with more stuff very soon. But until then, take care.